What happens when you put Hollywood's most respected actor, a man who's built his career on dignity, integrity, and quiet wisdom, against morning television's most persistent questioner? What happens when someone who's mastered the art of thoughtful responses meets someone who won't accept anything less than the answer they want? Denzel Washington was about to show Robin Roberts exactly what happens when you mistake professionalism for weakness. And Robin was about to learn that some boundaries can't be crossed, even by America's morning sweetheart. The Good Morning America studio hums with its usual morning energy, but there's an extra electricity in the air today. Denzel Washington sits across from Robin Roberts, his presence commanding respect even in casual conversation. At 69, he still radiates that distinctive combination of intelligence, dignity, and quiet power that has made him one of America's most revered actors. Robin adjusts her notes with the practiced ease of someone who's conducted thousands of interviews. At 63, she's built her reputation on getting celebrities to open up, to share personal details that other interviewers can't access. Her smile is warm, professional, but there's something in her preparation today that suggests she's planning to go deeper than usual. Denzel Washington, everyone, Robin announces with genuine enthusiasm. The man who makes every performance look effortless while we all know the incredible work that goes into it. Denzel, thanks for being here. Denzel's smile is gracious, his voice carrying that distinctive resonance that has captivated audiences for decades. Good morning, Robin. Always a pleasure to be here. You're promoting your new film, but I want to start with something more personal. Robin begins, her tone friendly, but with an undertone that makes Denzel's expression become slightly more guarded. You've been married to Pauletta for over 40 years. In Hollywood, that's almost unheard of. What's the secret? It's a reasonable question, one Denzel has answered variations of many times. His response is thoughtful, measured. Communication, respect, and understanding that marriage is work. Good work, but work nonetheless. But it can't have been easy, Robin presses, leaning forward slightly. Especially with your career taking you away for months at a time, the pressures of fame, the temptations that come with being one of the most desired men in Hollywood. How did you navigate that? Something flickers in Denzel's eyes, not annoyance yet, but awareness that this line of questioning is heading somewhere he might not want to go. Robin, my marriage is between my wife and me. We've built something strong over 4 decades, and I prefer to keep the details of how we've done that private. Robin's smile never wavers, but there's a new persistence in her voice. I understand the desire for privacy, but you've been so open about other aspects of your life, your faith, your father's absence, your struggles with alcohol early in your career. Why is marriage different? The question carries an implicit challenge. If you'll talk about those things, why not this? Denzel's posture shifts almost imperceptibly, becoming more formal. Because those other topics are about my personal growth, my individual journey. Marriage involves another person who didn't sign up to have her private life dissected on television. But Pauletta has appeared in interviews with you before, Robin counters quickly. She's spoken about your relationship publicly. So it's not entirely private, is it? Denzel's jaw tightens slightly, a tell that few people would notice, but Robin's experience allows her to read the room. There's a difference between choosing to share something together and having someone demand details about your marriage, Robin. The tension in the studio ratchets up a notch. The camera operators adjust their angles, sensing something building. I'm not demanding anything, Robin responds, her tone still friendly, but with an edge now. I'm asking questions that millions of viewers want to know. Questions about how someone maintains a strong marriage in Hollywood, how you've avoided the scandals that have destroyed other careers. These aren't invasive questions, Denzel. They're relevant questions. Denzel leans back in his chair, and when he speaks, there's a new quality in his voice, something firmer, more authoritative. Robin, let me be very clear about something. The reason I've avoided scandals, as you put it, isn't because I have some special technique or secret strategy. It's because I've lived my life with integrity and made choices based on my values. That's not a story. That's just how a person should behave. Robin nods, but she's clearly not satisfied with the answer. But surely there were moments, challenges, times when that integrity was tested. Times when you had to make difficult choices between career opportunities and family obligations. Can you share any specific examples? The request hangs in the air like a challenge. Denzel's expression becomes noticeably cooler. No, I cannot share specific examples. And I won't share specific examples. Because my family's private moments aren't content for your show, Robin. The rebuff is polite but firm, and it clearly surprises Robin. She's used to persistence eventually breaking down celebrity resistance. I'm not asking for anything inappropriate, Denzel. I'm asking for the kind of insights that help people understand how someone builds a lasting relationship in a challenging environment. Your fans look up to you as a role model. Then they should look up to me for my work, my professionalism, and my public behavior. Denzel interrupts, something he rarely does in interviews. They shouldn't expect me to perform my marriage for their entertainment. Robin shifts tactics, her experience telling her that a different approach might be more successful. Let's talk about your children then. Your son John David is following in your footsteps as an actor. There have been reports of tension, competition between you two. How do you handle that dynamic? Denzel's entire demeanor changes. His voice becomes cold, controlled, but with an undercurrent of genuine anger. What reports? Reports from whom? Based on what evidence? Robin looks slightly caught off guard by the directness of the challenge. Well, there have been industry sources, observations about family dynamics. Industry sources, Denzel repeats slowly. Robin, let me tell you something about industry sources. They're usually people who don't know my family, have never been in my home, and create stories out of nothing because speculation sells better than truth. He leans forward, his intensity filling the studio space. My relationship with my son is between me and my son. The fact that you would repeat gossip and ask me to validate rumors about my family shows exactly what's wrong with this business. The studio has gone noticeably quieter. Even the crew senses they're witnessing something unprecedented. I wasn't repeating gossip, Robin defends, but her voice lacks its usual confidence. I was asking about a dynamic that many families face. By suggesting there's tension and competition based on what? Anonymous sources? Unnamed industry observers. Denzel's voice carries a righteous anger that makes everyone pay attention. That's not journalism, Robin. That's gossip disguised as journalism. Sensing she's losing control of the interview, Robin tries another approach. Let's talk about your faith then. You've been very open about your Christianity, your belief in God's plan. Some people have criticized you for being too vocal about religion in Hollywood. How do you respond to that? Denzel's expression becomes even more guarded. Who are these some people, Robin? Are we going to spend this entire interview discussing anonymous critics and unnamed sources? I'm asking about your experience as a person of faith in an industry that's often hostile to religious beliefs, Robin clarifies, but Denzel is already shaking his head. You're not asking about my experience. You're asking me to defend my faith against unnamed critics. You're asking me to explain myself to people who don't have the courage to put their names on their criticisms. He stands up slowly, his movement commanding attention from every person in the studio. And that's not a conversation I'm going to have. My faith is between me and God. I don't owe anyone an explanation for my beliefs, and I certainly don't owe anonymous critics a defense of my relationship with my Creator. Robin realizes she's losing her guest and makes one final, desperate attempt to salvage the interview. Denzel, I think you're misunderstanding my intentions. These questions come from a place of admiration, from viewers who want to know how someone like you has maintained such high standards in a challenging industry. Can we talk about the pressures you've faced, the temptations you've resisted? The request is the final straw. Denzel's composure, which has been fraying throughout the interview, finally snaps completely. Temptations I've resisted? His voice rises with genuine incredulity. Robin, are you asking me to confess to things I haven't done? Are you asking me to detail moments of weakness that may or may not exist for the entertainment of your audience? He walks around the coffee table, moving with controlled but obvious anger. Do you understand what you're asking? You're asking me to either lie by creating dramatic stories that didn't happen, or violate my own privacy by sharing personal struggles that are none of anyone's business. The studio is electric with tension. This has gone far beyond normal morning show territory into something that feels dangerous and unpredictable. That's not what I'm asking, Robin starts, but Denzel cuts her off with absolute authority. That's exactly what you're asking. You're asking me to turn my life into content. You're asking me to perform my personal struggles, my family dynamics, my private moments for the entertainment of strangers. Denzel faces the cameras directly, speaking to millions of viewers with the authority of someone who's observed the entertainment industry for 4 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing here is everything that's wrong with modern celebrity culture. The assumption that because someone is famous, their entire life becomes public property. The idea that privacy is something celebrities forfeit in exchange for success. His voice grows stronger, more passionate. I've been in this business for 40 years. I've watched it change from an industry that respected boundaries to one that treats personal lives as content to be mined for entertainment. Robin tries to interrupt, but Denzel's momentum is unstoppable. I've watched journalists become gossip merchants. I've watched interviews become interrogations. I've watched the line between public and private disappear because people like you convince celebrities that sharing everything is somehow authentic. The observation hangs in the air like an indictment of the entire industry. You want to know what authenticity looks like? Denzel asks, his voice carrying decades of hard-earned wisdom. Authenticity looks like maintaining your dignity even when people are trying to strip it away. Authenticity looks like protecting your family even when it costs you publicity opportunities. He looks directly at Robin, his expression a mixture of disappointment and determination. Authenticity looks like saying no when people ask you to violate your own values for their entertainment. And that's what I'm doing right now. Robin makes one last attempt to salvage the situation. Denzel, I never meant to make you uncomfortable. Comfortable or uncomfortable isn't the issue, Denzel responds with devastating calm. The issue is respect. The issue is boundaries. The issue is understanding that some things are more important than content for your show. He grabs his jacket from the back of his chair. And the most important thing is teaching people that they don't owe strangers access to their private lives, no matter how famous they are. As Denzel puts on his jacket, Robin makes a final plea. Can we start over? Ask different questions. Denzel's response is immediate and final. Robin, the problem isn't the specific questions. The problem is the assumption that you have the right to ask them. The problem is the belief that my success gives you access to my privacy. He walks toward the exit, his movement deliberate and dignified. I came here to talk about my work, my craft, my contributions to cinema. I didn't come here to perform my personal life for ratings. As he reaches the edge of the set, Denzel turns back one final time. To everyone watching who's been told that sharing everything is authentic, that privacy is hiding something, that boundaries are barriers to connection, that's wrong. Privacy is dignity. Boundaries are self-respect. And some things are more important than other people's curiosity. His voice carries across the studio with absolute conviction. Don't let anyone convince you that you owe them access to your private life. Don't let anyone tell you that maintaining boundaries makes you secretive or fake. And don't let anyone pressure you into sharing more than you're comfortable sharing just because they think they deserve to know. He looks directly at Robin one last time. Some things are sacred, Robin. And the people who understand that are the people worth respecting. The moment Denzel disappears from frame, the studio erupts in chaos. Robin sits in stunned silence, clearly unprepared for such a decisive rejection of her interview style. The other hosts exchange worried glances, unsure how to fill the remaining time. For 30 seconds, nobody speaks. The dead air stretches across morning television like an indictment. Finally, Robin manages to whisper, "We'll be right back after this." But the damage is done. Within minutes, clips are viral across every social media platform. Hashtag Denzel versus Robin explodes into trending territory, but the response is unlike anything anyone expected. Instead of the usual divided reactions, people from across all demographics are supporting Denzel's stance on privacy and boundaries. Comments pour in from viewers who are tired of invasive celebrity journalism, tired of watching famous people be pressured into sharing personal details for entertainment. The interview becomes a watershed moment in celebrity journalism. Other actors begin following Denzel's example, setting clearer boundaries in interviews, refusing to discuss personal details that don't relate to their professional work. Journalism schools begin using the clip as a case study in ethical interviewing, examining the difference between legitimate public interest and invasive curiosity. But perhaps most importantly, the incident sparks a broader conversation about privacy, dignity, and the assumption that fame eliminates a person's right to boundaries. Denzel Washington had walked into that studio as one of America's most respected actors. He walked out as something more significant, a defender of human dignity in an age of manufactured intimacy, a reminder that some things are more important than content. The legend had spoken, and his message was simple but revolutionary. Some boundaries should never be crossed, no matter how famous the person or how persistent the questioner. Privacy isn't secrecy. Boundaries aren't barriers. And dignity never goes out of style. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply say no, even when everyone expects you to say yes. Especially then.